Good morning. It's currently 8:08 a.m. on Saturday, March 7th, 2015. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, as promised yesterday, today I'm going to talk about day one of PAX East, which is going on this weekend here in Boston. But first, as far as creativity, accountability, I didn't end up working on anything yesterday. However, I am planning to work on my editing project for an hour this morning before heading back over to PAX East for day two. But PAX East, so how was it, right? Well, it was a lot of fun. The show floor is a little bit overwhelming. If you've never been to it before or anything like it. Luna, come on, settle down. All right. It's very big and very crowded and densely packed. So it could even be a little bit claustrophobic, which is weird to say for this huge space. But basically, everything is in a weird crowded maze, and so you could literally just walk through it back and forth for an hour and then still turn a corner and go, what? I didn't even realize this was here. And it'll be a whole new row that you just missed because it's not in an orderly grid. There's weirdly shaped things, and so you're constantly finding all sorts of stuff, which could mean too that if like you're looking for something really specific, it can be hard to find, at least until you've oriented some landmarks for yourself. Like if you've been there once, you can say, okay, well, it's across from that big sign. But if you were looking for it for the first time, that could be a real problem. But anyway, I played a number of game demos, including I mentioned on Twitter yesterday that I played an Oculus Rift demo, and the game actually was Eve Valkyrie, which certainly anyone who's been following previews and news about the Oculus, that's one of the notable ones that they often use to demonstrate the hardware. And part of that's just because it's a very polished experience. It's a dogfighter, space combat type game, a little bit like X-Wing or something, where you're just flying around. You fly your ship using the joystick, but it's a very good demo for Oculus because it pairs with what you're doing in real life, meaning you're sitting in a chair holding a controller, and so in the game what you're doing is you're sitting in a spaceship, and so it can be very immersive in that way, is in the sense that you look down and instead of your own body you see like the pilot's body, and you see hands holding the controller and everything. But so you will aim your ship with the joystick and then fire weapons with the triggers, but you can look all around. You can even look behind you and you see the whole cockpit, and so if there's a ship flying overhead like that, you can look up there and see it even as you continue flying in this direction. And also the aiming is assisted based on where you're looking. So like if you wanted to lock on to a craft that's in front of you but then it's starting to go by, if you can keep flying straight but you follow it with your eyes, you can lock on and then fire your homing missiles. And certainly, I've played a number of different Oculus demos, and they're all cool. But Eve Valkyrie is one of the ones that feels more like, yeah, this could be a whole game. A lot of them do feel more like proof of principle than an actual game. And even though this is just a very narrow slice of a game, you could see a whole game being built on that mechanic, whereas a lot of demos tend to just be, you're walking around a cool environment, and so that would take a lot more building on to make a whole game. There's a lot more VR demos to do, but when I was there, I was having trouble with my contact lenses, so I wore my glasses for most of the day yesterday. And you can Sometimes with the VR, you can wear your glasses underneath it, but that's less than ideal. So I tried that one with my glasses off, which is okay. But so the point is just that I decided to wait for to do those until I could go do it with my contact lenses in for just a more optimal experience. Anyway, what else did I play? I played a game called Cosmochoria, which when I kept trying to tell people about it later, I kept not remembering what the name was, but it was actually a lot of fun. I got a little coupon thing. So as you can see from the little thing, it's on Steam early access right now, and so that image is a pretty good example of what the game is like. You're on all of these little planets, and you can run all around them, and the camera will rotate, and you have a ray gun that you can fire in any direction. And the idea is that all of these planets are dead, and you're kind of terraforming them at the same time that aliens are attacking you. And so you are on a planet, and you'll plant a flag, and then you can start planting seeds, and they'll take a little while to grow. And then when a plant is fully grown, it'll give you more seeds. But in the meantime, there's aliens attacking you, and you have to run around, and you have to try to plant enough planets that it'll sort of come back to life and activate. And in the meantime, there's various little things like, you know, you'll find a treasure chest, and it has, oh, it's a number ball. It's like an 8-ball, like from a pool table. And it'll say, somebody wants this. And so you might find that on another planet that you visit later, you know, there's a guy who's looking for that. So if you pick it up and you carry it to where that guy is. And then there's also sort of asteroids like jetpack combat, because you can jump while you're on the planet, and then you can also, if you hold the jump button, it's a jetpack, and so you can just sort of rocket off into space. And then there's all sorts of different aliens that come and bosses. And because I got the high score in the demo, I mean, it was only midday on the first day, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone beats me. But because I got the high score at the time, they gave me a free Steam code for it. So I own the game now. I haven't played it yet because, you know, spent all day at PAX yesterday. I did also get, I don't really know what the game is, but I got a little card. You can see this is as far as I can tell, is a Max Headroom style Ronald Reagan. I think they had a similar thing in Back to the Future too, but I don't know that it's a reference to that so much as the same just idea. But it's for upsiloncircuit.com, part game show, part action RPG, permanent death. Be there when the show starts. So they had an impressive booth, but I was kind of on my way to somewhere else, so I didn't actually see the game very much. Another one that I played is Planet of the Eyes, and that one is it's at least the demo was a relatively simple 2D platformer physics puzzler sort of game, but it has a really cool look. The animation of the background and the environment is kind of a minimalist, very flat looking, very saturated colors animation style, but then the robot here is modeled in 3D, and so he looks really cool. So it's a very cool looking game. Oh, look, there's Luna in the background. Hey Luna, how you doing? Good girl. So that one looks fun, but I'd be interested in seeing more what the full game might look like. And then I think the last demo that I played was, I just realized how much longer I'm going. That's fine. I'm doing a PAX East sum up. So this War of Mine, which is a game that's actually out already, and I had already been interested in it. It's an interesting game where it's talking about a war, but you're not a soldier in it. Instead, you control a group of people who are just the civilians who are having to hide out during the day because of all the fighting, and having to go scavenge for supplies at night because the city's infrastructure has been demolished by the war. And so your job is to try to have everybody not starve to death, to not get sick, to not go crazy, while they're having to hide from all of the fighting going on in their city. And it's really kind of an interesting idea. The little demo I played of it was just a guy going and scavenging in this house looking for supplies, and it was it's kind of an resource management game in the sense that all your people are going to need food, they're going to need to spend some time sleeping, and so what you assign each person to do, and when you go scavenging, like what do you decide to bring back. And I gather there's various moral decisions you might make, like for example you might break into a house while you're scavenging and discover, oh, they have lots of food that would help my group, but the owners of that food are is like a frail elderly couple, and you might say, well, I know this is your food, but we need it too. So do you just leave it with them? Do you take it anyway? What if they have a gun and they try to stop you from taking it? And meanwhile, you've got people back at your house that are starving. But at the same time, if you were to say, kill this couple and take the food, that person that you used to do that might actually feel guilty about it. Shocker. And so his sanity might start to go, and he might start becoming less useful in further scavenging missions because he doesn't want to have to do anything like that again. It's kind of an interesting idea, and I was able to get a 50% discount code to buy the game, taking it from $20 to $10. So I think I'm going to pick it up. Seems like it'll be fun. And then I also went to a few panels. There was a writer's workshop panel that didn't really cover anything that I hadn't heard before. It was pretty entry-level stuff about, just write stuff, make sure you finish it, try to find your voice, think about branding, all that sort of stuff. But that said, it was enthusiastically delivered, and as I said on Twitter, I think even sometimes the basic stuff like that, it's good to rehear it every so often because it just, it helps you to, it's like a booster shot. I was trying to come up with a different analogy than I used on Twitter and failed. I also went to a panel on identity-based conversations in the gaming space, and that's a lot of, it didn't really get into, like Gamergate specifically, but certainly that was in the air as the discussion was had. More it was about conflict in gaming space, just in the sense of people get into flame wars and that sort of thing, and there's trolls and what do you do? And it was a pretty good conversation, and one of the things I really appreciated was there was a discussion of don't feed the trolls, which is certainly old internet standby advice, but sometimes it's also true that if you just ignore the trolls, they continue to shout out. It might be that other people in not wanting to feed the trolls also don't respond, and so you have the people who are maybe on the fence seeing only the trolls' point of view and assuming, well, maybe that's what everybody feels like because nobody's saying anything different. But at the same time, everybody knows that, screaming back at someone who's screaming at you is not very helpful. So their suggestion was that, first, that you're not necessarily obligated to respond to any particular troll. But if you have someone who's saying offensive things or aggressive things online, they said try to basically have empathy in the sense of thinking probably whatever they're yelling about right now is not really the true source of their emotion. So try to keep that in mind. Don't respond in kind. Instead, if you feel like some point they've made needs to be refuted, you can do that while trying to keep it not personal. Make sure that you're not emotional when you send whatever it is, or else it just keeps escalating. I thought that was really, really nice. Then I also went to the Isometric podcast panel. Isometric is a podcast about video games, and you know, it's a clever title because it's isometric gaming from a different perspective. I thought that was, I think that's clever. Anyway, that's a great video game podcast, and the panel was equally fun. So I enjoyed that, and so in any case, I'm going to be heading back to PAX East later today. But first, an hour of writing, and then of course, shower and stuff. So. All right, so that's it for today, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.